Kia ora, my name is Aruna Zaingari from the Cook Islands. The Cook Islands was one of a handful of countries that was announced to be COVID-19 free as of 3 weeks ago. I think there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from this COVID-19 pandemic in terms of economics and money-making accountability. I think the biggest problem that the Cook Islands faced in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic was the drop in revenue over tourism. Tourism is the Cook Islands' main economic provider. Last time I checked, the tourism industry provides 81% of the Cook Islands' GDP, which is a massive amount of money for such a small country. The problem with having tourism as your main money earner in the country is the fact that everything has to run smoothly, everything has to work together in order for tourism to continue to make revenue, to make money. If one thing doesn't go smoothly, the whole ship sinks, and this in terms of the coronavirus. Due to border measures, border controls, quarantine measures, when the tourists stopped coming in, the money stopped coming in, and therefore a lot of people actually lost their jobs. But I think the government did a real good job in terms of delivering stimulus packages to the public. This morning I checked, and apparently $6.4 million has been spent so far by the Cook Island government on stimulus packages, just to help those who are in need and who have suffered from the lack of tourism-based events or tourists on the island. Despite the fact that there are no tourists on the island currently, I think because the Cook Islands is one of the handful of countries that is COVID-19 free, once the pandemic has been resolved, and we do get a bit of normality back into society, I think a lot of people will be looking to travel, to go on holidays and whatnot. And because we were announced COVID-19 free, the Cook Island tourism industry and the Cook Islands as a whole is in a great position to benefit from that. And I think that's thanks in part to the work put in by the marae ora, the government, and just everybody in the Cook Islands. It's a real team effort.
So from the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak and the notice from the World Health Organization, the country put extreme emphasis on the importance of good hygiene practices and beginning to social distance. When the global spread started affecting the Pacific as well, we cut down our international flights and ended up only having international flights between Auckland and Rarotonga. And then when New Zealand got a confirmed case, the border was shut down for passengers entirely, and the country entered Code Yellow. During Code Yellow, there were no domestic passenger flights going anymore. The school holidays were extended, churches were closed, and gathering of more than 10 people was banned. Shops also limited the amount of customers that they would accept in at one time. And one good initiative that the country took was each of the punas, or each of the villages on the island, created an emergency operations centre. So there were info hubs for each of the villages where they were able to identify who and where a person in quarantine was in each of the village, as well as who were the most vulnerable or at-risk people in each of the villages. So since people were recommended to stay home and due to the lockdown, the country started to suffer job losses, as the main economy is tourism, as AJ said earlier. So there were a lot of families that were struggling due to having no jobs or due to family being stranded overseas. So there were multiple initiatives by the government in New Zealand and the Cook Islands in association with Internal Affairs and Red Cross to make hygiene and food packs, just the basic necessities needed to carry on. And hundreds and hundreds of these packs were distributed to each of the villages and to the outer islands as well, and handed out to the households that really needed them most. They were prioritized in that order. These stringent measures certainly have paid off though. After the 2 weeks of quarantine for the last lot of inbound passengers before the total lockdown, also there were hundreds of COVID-19 swab tests analysed. All the tests came back negative. So the Cook Islands was officially declared a COVID-19 free country about 3 weeks ago, and we're one of very few countries in the world that are COVID-19 free. Since being declared COVID-19 free, many code yellow restrictions have been lifted, such as schools have been allowed to resume as long as they continue pushing for good hygiene practices and the kids not being too close together. Church services have also been allowed to resume as well. However, groups of more than 10 people outside these circumstances are still not recommended. All these measures, although they're seemingly quite strong for a country with no COVID-19 cases, is a safeguard for the Cook Islands to ensure that the coronavirus doesn't reach our shores. Many may ask though, what next? Where to from now? Well, we can only wait and see how the global situation runs, and then we'll see. So until next time, I'm Tiana Hexton from the Cook Islands, saying kia ora, e kia manuia.